Welcome to the Political Trenches, Local Government at Work. Today we are back and heading to the province of Quebec for a deep dive into the municipal politics into the I Remember province. But we have three big stories making headlines over the last few weeks that we want to dive into. And as always, Ian is joining me. And Ian, how are you?
Good. I have never heard Quebec called the I Remember province. I know exactly what you mean by it. That's an interesting translation. So yeah, it's been good. It's been a busy few weeks since last time, as always seems to be the case. Back and forth between Eastern Atlantic Canada and Western Canada.
Yeah, it's been a busy week, and I know we tried to do these twice a month, but it's only been once a month for the last few months. So we'll hopefully get back to the swing of things once everything starts to settle down.
Mhm.
But as I said, we have some big stories that we want to dive into, and our first story comes from Cameron Mayner from CBC Kitchener Waterloo. On October 31st, 13 mayors, Ontario mayors, signed a letter where they strongly requested the provincial government intervene in the chronic homelessness crisis. Guelph Mayor Cam Guthrie was one of the people who signed that letter, along with Cambridge Mayor Jan Leggett. Quote, I've had to hold people whose children have died while they are crying in my arms, end quote, the mayor said as why she signed the letter. She went on to say, quote, it's extremely hard to handle. They're asking for help. They have been for a number of years, end quote. The open letter to the province asks for a number of things from the province, including to use the notwithstanding clause to override court decisions preventing municipalities from clearing and prohibiting encampments, as well as expanding on mandatory mental health and addiction treatments. The notwithstanding clause is in Section 33 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and allows governments to temporarily override other sections of that document. Ian, this is a big issue, not only in Ontario, but across Canada. At the most recent gathering of RMA here in Alberta, I was speaking with municipal leaders who believed the letter was the right path forward to address the issues of homelessness in larger urban centers. Asking for the use of the notwithstanding clause is a big thing for anyone to do. How do you see municipalities addressing the issue of homelessness while balancing the need for fundamental civic liberties?
I'm really torn with this one as well. Homelessness, as you have reckoned, and houselessness is an issue not only coast to coast in Canada, but elsewhere as well, which tells me that nobody has managed to lick the problem. And different people in different places are looking for different solutions, trying to create an end to the issue. Some of them are band-aid solutions at best, where we're talking about closing encampments, and that just moves people elsewhere. Others are looking at, as somebody stated in this story, dealing with this as a health issue, as a mental health issue, rather than as a housing issue. And until we get to the real systemic problem, we're never going to manage to deal with the visible problem, the homelessness encampments. You made reference to Section 15 of the Charter, the notwithstanding clause. And anytime you use that, that's probably the biggest constitutional hammer we have in Canada. And the clause they're looking at overriding through this letter is talks about protecting an individual's right to life, liberty, and security of the person. And just on the surface, overruling that brings me chills. It's something that is a real slippery slope to if we can overrule a particular segment of society's rights to life, liberty, and security of the person. Where else do we go from here? And whatever their issue is there out there, other provinces have tried using the notwithstanding clause to get their own way, but to the best of my knowledge, not in this way.
Homelessness, mental health, addictions, you and I both know those are in the provincial jurisdiction. They are the province's roles and responsibility. But this letter signed by the mayors in Ontario is asking the province to step up and do something that is in their jurisdictional role. Are mayors at the moment of last resort and are asking the province to do something that they should have already been doing already? Or is this something that is not what it always seems to be about?
I mentioned at the start this being a wicked problem, perhaps one of the wickedest of the wicked problems. And it's an issue that is rightfully or more properly not within the realm of local government. However, the impact and effect of it is most largely felt with the order of local government because it happens on the land within these municipalities. So this is one of those cases where municipalities sometimes have the almost responsibility by default through uh, downloading, whether it's conscious or unconscious downloading. So they have the responsibility to deal with it, but they don't have the legislative authority, and they certainly don't have the resources to deal with it. So this is an issue that will require federal, provincial, and local work as well. So whether it's groups like the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, whether it's all the premiers getting together, the Council of the Federation getting together to deal with this, it's got to be dealt with in a multi-order of government fashion for anything to happen in a systemic way.
Could you see this expanding outside of Ontario?
Oh yeah. Yeah, this probably is a test, and I would suspect you mentioned at the Rural Municipalities of Alberta conference this topic had come up because the issue happens elsewhere as well, here in Alberta for the conference. I could see it happening here. I suspect the impact would be the same, the effect would be the same. This is a test probably of the Constitution, a test of the legal system, a test of the boundaries of authority of local governments, and the idea being to re-upload responsibility back to the order of government that's supposed to be dealing with it in the first place. So yeah, I could see it happening elsewhere.
Turning to our second story, and it comes from David Hellwig of Elliott Lake Today. An organization representing 110 districts and municipalities across Northern Ontario is voicing concern about the cost of investigating and enforcing code of conduct complaints against elected councillors. Quote, our members are concerned about the cost complaints have on municipalities and elected councillors, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities said in October after a meeting of its 11-member board in Caledar, Ontario. Quote, municipal governments do not have the necessary tools to adequately enforce compliance with municipal code of conduct and support appropriate accountability when perpetrating violence and harassment in the workforce, end quote, the group said in a news release. Quote, also, the province should increase the training of municipal integrity commissioners to enhance the consistency of investigations and recommendations across the province, end quote. The FONOM's concerns were made public 8 weeks after two Sault Ste. Marie city councillors were strongly critical of what they termed as frivolous complaints to the city's integrity commissioner that was expected to cost taxpayers $6,500. The Sault Ste. Marie Association of Ratepayers requested an investigation into comments made by Mayor Shoemaker and Ward 2 councillor at the city council meeting on March 18th. Ward 3 councillor Angela Caputo and Ward 2 councillor Luc Dufour considered the investigation a waste of time and tax dollars. Ian, simple question to kick off this one. Are investigations enforcing the code of conduct complaints frivolous in your opinion?
It's impossible to give a yes or no answer to that. Some of them almost certainly are. We hear about the concept of weaponizing legislation. And in those cases, yes, that's frivolous, vexatious. It's really not intended to fix a problem that's there. In many, if not most cases, I think, however, the alleged breaches of codes of conduct are things that ought to be have a look at. And there are a whole range of sanctions that can be available, from just apologizing to, in some places, of course, you can remove a sitting elected official, which I think goes a little too far. I don't think you should be able to remove an elected official. I think that's kind of up to the courts or the minister to do, because somebody's chosen that person electorally.
I want to jump in
Sure.
there because you mentioned two things that are literally my next question is
Okay.
how should municipalities handle matters of frivolous code of conduct complaints when we are seeing, not just in Ontario, but across Canada, more and more people being accused of breaching those code of conduct complaints and potentially the weaponization of the code of conduct complaints. It was brought up at the RMA convention, and even Minister McIver said there's a potential where we're going to look at the rules around filing the code of conduct complaints.
Yeah, so I think there needs to be impact on those who will file them frivolously. And if they are done internal to the municipal government, say a member of staff files a frivolous one or a member of council files a frivolous one on, so those can be dealt with through municipal legislation. Where it starts to get a little bit more tricky, of course, if there are frivolous complaints that are filed by members of the public, because they would not be covered by code of conduct bylaw, presumably. And so it would require some changes to provincial legislation to say that there can be action taken against this. It is a bit of a vicious cycle, however, and what you've seen here is in the article you reference is an external person, an integrity commissioner, who has authority under the municipal acts and under local bylaws to independently conduct these reviews. This is Ontario, and Ontario's integrity commissioners, most if not all of them, have a legal background. So they will be looking at these contraventions or alleged contraventions from a legal perspective. When we do it, typically we're looking at it from a governance perspective first. We're looking for, is there an opportunity here to strengthen governance through this complaint process, through the review process as well. So we take a slightly different tack on it. In Ontario as well, the provincial legislation covers the requirement for integrity commissioners. To the best of my knowledge, it's the only province that does that. So in other places, if municipalities have these integrity commissioners, I believe it's because of the choice of the municipality, which also means the municipality has the authority to either accept or not accept their findings, to apply sanctions or not apply sanctions, and to either continue with the integrity commissioner's contract, to terminate it, to not renew it, whatever the case.
And I want to turn to our final story. And our final story comes from Chad Pawson of CBC Vancouver. 2 mayors, 6 city councillors, 4 school board trustees, and 1 local area director have all won a government upgrade to the legislature in Victoria, meaning by-elections are expected in those communities, but not all of them. Misty Van Popta, a councillor with the township of Langley, says she will handle both roles for the remainder of her 2-year local government stint. Election BC says there are no rules in BC's Elections Act prohibiting politicians from being elected in 2 places at once, such as a school board trustee or local councillor as an MLA. The Election Act does not require them to resign if they are elected as an MLA as well. Ian, I'm conflicted with the story. This is the one that I wanted to talk about because this is the one that actually brings me it gets my gears going. If you run for one level of government when serving in another one, shouldn't you step down and focus solely on the one level of government you were just elected to? Or is this double dipping in the public purse?
So a lot of municipal elected officials are part-time. The vast majority of them are part-time, which means they already have another job. They work in their own businesses. They may work for somebody else. So to your comment about double dipping, they're taking a salary from their political job. They're also taking a salary because they work at Home Hardware. So in that way, how is that any different than working at one level, to your word, one order of government versus another order of government? I'm being a bit of a devil's advocate on that because I don't like it either. And there is a rule, probably everywhere, that says an elected person can't also work for that municipality. So you can't be elected and also an employee. And in some places, that becomes a disqualification if the employee doesn't resign. So in this case, provincial government directly oversees local government. So I could see there being conflict there too. I think it also tends to get voters' noses out of joint a little bit when a council member quits partway through a term. In BC, you're about halfway through to take on another political job. And as such, it looks like you're trying to climb the ladder from councillor to MLA or to MP maybe as well. So I do see voters frequently griping about that, and I think it's legitimate. And there's a cost to a by-election too. If halfway through a term, a member resigns to take on an MLA job, there is a cost associated with filling that empty seat. So in Vancouver, the one you reference, where the Vancouver City Councillor, now MLA elect, has said she's going to do both jobs as a way to avoid the cost of a by-election. That's a bit of an odd one too, because I don't think she's going to do either one of them particularly well if she's split, because both of them are full-time plus jobs.
Welcome to the Political Trenches Local Government at Work. Our guest today is Claire Bolduc, perfect for the MRC of Témiscamingue since 2018 and a member of the Board of Directors of the Fédération Québécoise de Municipalités. Madame Bolduc, Claire, Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much to invite me.
So, I want to start off with a simple question. In your opinion, how would you describe the current state of municipalities in the province of Quebec?
We are recognized since 2015 as a proximity governments, and it's a big confirmation of the importance of our role, but it's still difficult. The major issue with for all the municipality, even it's a small municipality or big city, is to get equity with the governmental services. But for the municipalities to be recognized as a proximity government, it's an important fact that we say to the citizens, you need something, you have to talk to your municipal council, you have to talk to your mayor or the councillors, you have to work with them, and they have to work with you. Knowing that, then we can organize and arrange some services for the population. We can get some infrastructures, but the most difficult part is to get government services in our every places, in every territories. Sometimes it's very, very difficult.
I'd like to address, if I can, Claire, the unique nature of local government in Quebec. Do you, if you have experience looking across the country, what do you see as unique about Quebec's local governments that maybe we don't see elsewhere?
We have specific budgets. We get some specific budgets, and we can do exactly what we want with that budget without having to ask permission or authorizations from the government. And every place, they have the choice to do what they need to do for the population, knowing the specific issues in a municipality or in a city or in a territory, because the MRCs, we call all the area, the territories.
Mhm.
So we just have to decide, knowing what are the needs and the important issues of our citizens. We don't have to ask permission. We don't have, it's a very, very important part of what we can do. And the amount is quite comfortable for a small place like the Timiskaming area. It's based on the dimensions. We have 19,000 square kilometers in Timiskaming area. It's a big place, but with a very small population, we are less than 16,000 people. So we have some issues and we have some realities. It's not the same when you are, for example, in Saint-Hyacinthe near Montreal, or at Nicolet near Trois-Rivières. So we decide what we need and what to do with that kind of money, and no one has to tell us you do right or you do wrong. We decide, and it's an important part of the recognition of the proximity government. The other thing for me, it's that we have some actions to do right now. For example, for the climate change and all the climate issues we already have and we will have in the future, and it's based exactly on what are the realities, what are the things, how are they going in a specific place, and then what do you suggest to do, what do you project to do, and how can we help you? So we have some funds to make that plan, that climate plan, and then to make specific actions in that climate plan without having permission from Quebec. They look over our shoulders just to check we use the money correctly, but they don't tell us you have to pay for the water supply, you have to pay for the garbages. We decide. It's on the border of the rivers or the lake. we work on that point. It's about heat. In French, we say îlots de chaleur, places where the heat is going very high during summer because there is some only artificial structures and no trees and no green plants. So we don't have to get their permission. We choose what are the specific issues we want to work on with our population, and we work on that. So it's a possibility, it's a facility for the municipalities that it's very, very important for us and for our population.
I want to turn to a topic that has been making a lot of news over the last few months, particularly in the province of Quebec, and that is about recruitment for various municipal roles, whether it be administration or even council members. We're seeing a large amount of resignations in the province of Quebec.
Yes.
What do you see as the biggest barrier, and what does FQM see as the biggest barrier in attracting people to work in local government or even get involved on their local council?
You know, there is 1,114 municipal organization in province of Quebec. It's a lot, but we have it's a big province, the biggest one. So, but it's a lot of municipalities. First, second, it's a lot of work for the people who are involved in those actions. Like mayor or councillor or even administrator, it's a lot of work. And it's not that we don't pay. The municipalities don't give a big salary for the people who are making that work. It's very small recognition for the whole work. And it's I think it's a problem. The other problem is people they want a lot to work for their community. They are engaged. They want to do things, but it's difficult with all the rules we have to follow up with all the legislations, the regulations, the rules. It's very hard and it doesn't go so fast. People, the person works a lot and very hard before to get only one kind of results. So it's hard. Third one, I think the citizens are sometimes very incorrect with the elected people because they are so critical. They are so sometimes angry. Sometimes they are angry and they are not very respectful or polite in the communication with the elected people. And it's right during the council meeting, but sometimes it's on the media, the social media, Facebook or something like that. And it's very, very hard for the people. And knowing that, Mrs. Laforêt, the Minister of the Municipal Affairs, the government adopted a specific law in last June to protect the elected people. And it's a big part of the work of the Fédération Québécoise des Municipalités on that specific point. Mr. Demers, our president, worked a lot to get that kind of legislation to protect the elected person. But it's a small effort in a big problem. The salary is a big issue. The conditions, it's not really easy. And sometimes the relationship between the people and the elected persons are hard. You know, if I have to go to the grocery to buy milk, just a bottle of milk, it can take me 2 hours. It's because everywhere I go, I'm in front of my electors. I'm with them and I have to listen to them, what they are, what's the problem they are confronted to, what are their issues, their specific issues. Sometimes it's small thing but you have to listen to the people. And sometimes some of them are really peaceful and quiet, saying their issues, but sometimes they are not. So if I absolutely need a bottle of milk in the next 5 minutes, I ask to my husband, go and buy the milk. It will be easier. You know, we are in the middle of the place with the population. So sometimes it's hard. I regret a lot that people came in the activity, the municipal council, and they have to resign of this because it's too hard for them. I regret that, but because sometimes they have good ideas, they have a big energy to dispense for the population, but the conditions are not really so easy.
You, with the Federation, you oversee the Commission on Democracy, Institutions, and Social Development. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we are working. We discuss with mayors, councillors from everywhere in Province of Quebec, and even some director of the municipalities or of the MRCs. We want to get the biggest possibilities to have different point of view on specific subjects. Social development mean what you're working on for the in French we say milieu de vie de qualité, a good quality for your way of life, and we work on that specific point, considering all the situations, the rural situations, small cities situation, big cities situation, considering all the realities. We work on that point. We work on the cultural affair, like all the patrimonial issues. We have a lot of construction and infrastructure we have to take care. And it's also the democracy. So, for example, we discuss about the government as a specific law in 2018 on revising the electoral mode. They wanted to have we have an election for the government and prime minister based on the in French we say élection uninominale à un tour. So you have one tour of election, and the person who get the more votes get the post, win the election.
Right.
It's uninominal, one tour. But they wanted to have, in French, I'm sorry for that specific vocabulary, I miss it, but in French, we say une élection proportionnelle. You have some individuals who are elected on the base of all the votes that citizen gave, and individuals who got the place having the second place of the votes from the citizen. It's proportional. You consider the whole picture of every political party, and you say this one, they have X, for example, 20% of the votes, even if they don't have 20% of the elected person, the deputy, they have 20% of the vote, though, so they can have some more representative. We discussed about that point. I'm sorry for the French. I don't have the specific word. The proportional. I just
proportional
don't know
representation.
Okay, so thank you. The proportional representative, and we discussed about that. We were it was not a unique point of view that appears on our commission, and it's correct for that. but we have some university teacher professors, we have some searchers, we have some people knowing very well other models of election facilities to discuss and to have some information about that point. We discuss also on the representative map. Every 2 elections in Quebec, we have to review the counties, where are every county, and for the representative or of the population and the distance the elected person will have to face. So every 2 elections we have to discuss about that, and it's le directeur général des élections, the general election director, who has to make that work. But we discuss about that with the commission, because it concerns big cities where there's more and more people, and they want to have more representative, and rural place where they lose people, but they don't want to lose their identity and their own representative. So we have to discuss those points and suggest. We are not decisional on those points, but we can suggest some facilities or we can suggest some way to work, way to think about that kind of issues for the general election director. And it impacts our communities, the big one and the small one. It has a real impact on every communities. So if we can suggest some kind of way to work, and we have sometimes the good reflections to inspire the government. We work on that.
Yeah, Claire, my last question for you. You have a lot of energy and enthusiasm for what the work you do. Where does that come from? What drives you?
I'm an agronomist. I was involved in agricultural and agrologist issues. In Quebec, we recognize the importance of the Agronomic Act, and it's included in a specific legislation. I work on that. I'm an environmentalist, and with the issues we have with the climate change and the climate disorders, we have to you cannot just close the book or close the place, close the light and say, we won't do nothing more now, and we stop to live and we stay quiet because there is climate change. So we have to adapt. And I'm convinced that we can make things better for the population without closing all the place. The third one is I'm a mother and I'm a grandmother. And everything you do for those who are following us. I have 4 kids, and 8 grandkids. So we want things to be better for them, knowing it's a good place to live. In Quebec and in Canada, it's still a good place to live. But we have to work hard to assure to those who are following us that the good place to live will stand and continue with us and after us. It's the way it's the biggest reason for my contribution on the municipal affairs. But as an agronomist, I know also the base to have a good life. You have to have a good place to live, housing. You have to get some food correctly, so agricultural affairs, and you have to be comfortable with a whole community, so the municipal affairs. I'm involved in that. I'm also we have a farm, my husband and I. And I say, in French, I say, j'exploite une ferme et mon mari. In English, it will sound like I, I, I have a farm and it's my farm where my husband works.
Claire, I truly want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, from both Ian and myself, for joining us today in the political trenches. Oh, we often get so much out of these conversations, and we are so happy that you're able to take 45 minutes out of your day and sit down with us and describe what's going on in the province of Quebec, because we often don't hear about it from Western viewpoints. So we appreciate you taking time and sitting down with us and talking about yourself, the community of Temiskaming, but also the Federation of Quebec Wellington Municipalities. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, and I'm very happy to. I'm sorry for my not that well. I'm sorry for my English, but it was a pleasure to discuss with you about municipal affairs in Province of Quebec. Very glad to contribute to your podcast. Very interesting. Thank you very much.
Our full interview with Perfect Claire Bolduc will be airing next week, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Ian, another great episode of the Political Trenches, and Perfect Bolduc was amazing. We learned so much from her, and I'm so honored that she was able to grace time and come on our show to talk about the issues that are going on in Quebec for municipalities.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as part of our cross-Canada tour, we would have been remiss if we hadn't missed Quebec. I would actually like to have heard more from her about some of the differences in local government in Quebec versus elsewhere, particularly because of the legal system. My last question was about the passion that she so evidently has, and it's amazing to see how people got to where they did. For those of us who work in local government across the country, yeah, that was a lot of fun to record.
So what's on the agenda for you now? Where are you off to? Are you planning on any big trips? Because it's coming into the winter months and it's kind of a slow period for myself, but for you, what are you up to?
Yeah, we have some trips coming up. Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan have recently had their municipal election, so we have some orientations in both of those provinces coming up. Have some other travel in Alberta, and for me and some of the other folks who I work with as well. So we travel all the time, but yeah, I think it'll probably slow down a little bit between now and the end of the year.
We certainly do. For those who are listening in the province of Manitoba, I will be at the Association of Manitoba Municipalities. Shameless plug here. If you see me, come up and say hi, because we always love to chat with people from across Canada and particularly across Western Canada. So if you're at the Association of Manitoba Municipalities convention later on this week, head over and come see us, because we would love to say hi. And of course, if you know me, I like selfies. So come get a selfie with Chris Brown. Ian, always a pleasure to be back in the trenches with you, and we'll be back in December with a new episode.
Sounds good. See you then.